Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about object-oriented programming using a Java laboratory. The lab experiments, we have 5 different lab experiments. The first lab experiment, it is about creating a Java class called student. So which contains USN, name, branch and phone number of the student. So let us go for the first topic under Java programming. So before you start what is Java program, we need to understand what is object and classes in the Java. So what is this object and what is this classes? So here we are going to understand what is object in the class, object in the Java. The objects are called as real world examples or real world entities are called as objects. So in this example we have many real world examples, like we have a pencil, we have an apple, we have books, we have bag, we have a board. So all these entity that has a state and behavior is known as a object. So which has a state, which have behavior, it is called an object. Example, we have a chair, we have a bike, we have a marker, we have a pen, we have a table, so car, etc. So this can be we call it as an object physically or logically. So they may be physically available, they may be logically available. The example of intangible object is a banking system. So that is one more object. An object has 3 characteristics. What are the 3 main characteristics of the object? So first one is called as a state of the object, which represents the data. The second is called as a behavior, which represents the behavior or functionality. The third is called as identity of an object. An object identity is typically implemented via a unique ID. So these are some 3 basic characteristics of an object. For example, a pen is an object. Its name is Raymond. Reynolds. Color is white, known as state. It is used to write. So writing, it is in a behavior. So an object is an instance of a class. So what is this object means? It is an instance of the class. Object definition. If I say object definition, an object is a real world entity. An object is a runtime entity. Object is an entity which has a state and behavior. The object is an instance of class. So this is what the different definition what we can give. So for the object, an object is a real world entity. So that is the one definition we can give. Object is a runtime entity. So that is one more definition we can give. Object is an entity which has a state and behavior. Okay, so that is one more definition. Object is an instance of the class. So what is the instance of the class? Whenever you create a class, so we need to create an object of the class so that we can use all the features of the class. So like instance of the class. Then what is this class in the Java? So that is a second topic. Class is a group of objects which have common properties. So that is the main definition of the class. It is a group of objects which has a common property. It is a template or a blueprint from which the objects are created. So if I want to create any object, so some templates has to be there, some template has to be followed, so some blueprint has to be followed. Okay, so that is called as the class. So it is a template or a blueprint from which objects are created. So it is a class. It is a logical entity. It can't be a physical. So whatever the class is there, it is completely a logical entity. So it is not a physical entity. It is completely a logical entity. A class in a Java can contain, what are the different things the class can contain inside the Java? So it can contain the field, it can contain some methods, it can contain some constructors, it can contain some blocks, it can contain some nested class and interfaces. So means what? So the methods will be there. So using methods we can work on the objects. The fields will be there. So that is nothing but data members. Methods nothing but member functions. We have constructors. I want to initialize some value, we use constructors. We have a blocks, so that is also is there. Then after that a nested class and interfaces, that is also part of Java classes. Next comes syntax to declare a class. So what is the syntax? If I want to declare a class inside the Java, so what is the syntax used? The syntax to declare a class is we start with the keyword called class. So class is the keyword, then followed by the name of the class. The class is a keyword, so then followed by the name of the class, then we open the flower bracket, then we write field and method. Two components are there inside the class, two major components. So very basic components we can say. The two components are the field and a method. So what is this field means? So field is nothing but the data members. Okay, the data members which we want to define inside the class. Method is the function, so which is used to input the value for the data members, which is used to input the value to perform read and write operation. So we use the method. So that is the one more component. So these are the two important components which are there inside the class. And always we should start the class declaration with the keyword called class. Next is instance variable in Java. A variable which is created inside the class but outside the method is known as an instance variable. So what is this variable? So variable is nothing but, so it is the one which is created inside the class but outside the method. So outside the method if you create, and inside the class it is called as instance of the variable. Instance of the variable does not get memory at compile time. So whenever we start compiling the program, so after creation of the variable, at the time of compilation, the instance of the variable or the object of the class variable, it won't get the memory completely. Okay, it gets the memory at the runtime. So means what? If I create the variable, it does not mean that memory is allocated for the variable at the time of creation. So at the time of running of the program, so when the object of instance is created, so that time it's going to get the memory. So means what? It gets the memory at the time of runtime when the object or instance is created. Okay, so that is one point. That is why it is known as an instance variable. So that is why it's called as an instance variable. So what is this methods in the Java means? Okay, so methods, as I said, method or a function, both one the same. Method in Java. In Java, a method is like a function which is used to expose the behavior of an object. So I want to work on the object. I want to use the object and I want to write the program. So using an object, then how to handle the object, okay, how to input the value to the object, how to print the value from the object, or if you want to perform any other kind of operation on the object. So there is a one method, there is a one way. So that is nothing but a creation of the method. Okay, I want to create a method and I can input the value to the object, and I want to print the value from the object. I want to do some kind of a manipulation using the object. Everything can be done with the help of the method. And method in a Java, a method is like a function, as I said, so which is used to expose the behavior of an object. Okay, so it's nothing but so how we can use, okay, how dynamically we can use the object. So for different operation, for different purpose, that is possible with the help of the method. So what is the advantage of methods? Okay, so what is the advantage of method, or why we require method? The first point is, so to input the value to the object, so method is required. That is very basic thing. Then not only that, so we have other things like the code reusability and the code optimization. So what is this code reusability means? So I create a method, okay, so the same method can be used for different objects. Okay, so it does not mean that, so if you create different objects, okay, so you create different methods also. No, single method can be used with some different objects. So only thing is the same code is applicable, the same code of the method is applicable for different objects. Only thing is the objects are changing. So first we use the method with object number 1, the second time I use the method with object number 2, the third time I use the method with object number 3. So the objects are changing, the method remains the same. So that is called as the reusability of the code. So that is the first advantage of using a method. The second is code optimization. So the code optimization also one of the major advantage of the method. So where we can optimize the code. Reusability of the code is the first part, first advantage. The optimization of the code is other advantage. Means what? So why it is called optimization of the code? So as I said, the objects are different. Okay, so we are providing a different objects at the different time, okay, of the program. But even the object changes, okay, the value of the object changes, but the code remains the same, the method code remains the same. So means what, the whatever the code is there, it is the optimized code. Okay, so the same code can be used with the different methods or different objects. So that is a one more advantage. Next topic is about new keyword in Java. So what is this new keyword? New keyword is used to allocate memory at runtime. So as I said, so at the runtime of the Java program, we allocate the memory for the objects. So that is a point what we discussed. So the keyword used for allocation of the memory, it is called as a new keyword. So which is an inbuilt keyword inside the Java. All the object get memory in the heap memory area. So where the memory is allocated for the object, so the memory is allocated in the heap memory area. So that is taken care so by the keyword called new keyword, so which is used for allocation of the memory. The next topic is about object and class example. So the example is as shown here. In this example, we have created a student class. So what we are doing in this example, so we studied what is object, we studied what is the basic syntax of the class, we studied what is a field or a data member, we studied what is a method, so then what is the advantage of the method. So next, if I want to create on sample or example class, so here we have created a student class, so which has two data members, that is ID and a name. As I said, so the class contains method and data members here. So we have two data members, one is called as ID, another data member is called as a name. We are creating the object of the student class by the new keyword and printing the object value. So as I said, a new keyword helps in creating the object. So in this example, we want to create an object of the student class, so which contains two fields. So one is the ID, other is a name. So as you can see in this example, so for creating a class, we are starting with a keyword called class keyword. So class keyword we are giving, followed by a name of the class. So that is the student is the name of the class, followed by opening flower bracket, which contains the two fields. So here, as you can see, the integer ID is there. So which is the first field. The second field is called as a string name. So these are the two fields which we are creating inside the student class. So with that also we have some method. So what we are doing, so here we are writing on a main function, or we are writing a main method inside the class, so student class, to access that particular fields. So in the main method, so we are creating an instance of the object. Okay, how to create an instance of the object? So with the help of the new keyword, we can create an instance of the object. So first we are writing the name of the class, that is student is the name of the class, followed by object name. So in this example, object name is called S1. So is equal to new student, is equal to new student. So as you can see here, new is the keyword, so which helps in creating an object of the student. So new is the keyword which helps in creating an object of the student. So whatever the object is created, that is S1, using the S1, what we can do, so we can perform a different operation by inputting the value or outputting the value. Everything can be done so using this S1 object. So here we are printing the S1.id, okay, and also we are printing the S1.name, so of the student. This is the output. So we are getting output as 0 and null. So why 0 and null? So in the program, so we are not initialized any value for the field. Okay, so but still, so it is printing some default value. If I try to print the value, it's printing some default value. So that is 0 and null. The next topic is object and class example. So main outside the class. So here in the previous example, what we saw, so we are writing the main inside the class. So what is the class name? Student is the class name, and even the main function also we are writing inside the class. That is the first method of creating a class. So do you have any other method of creating a class? Yes, we have one more method, that is so main outside the class. I want to create the main outside the class. I want to separate the class and the main function, and I want to write my main outside the class. Is it possible? Yes, we are doing it. Okay, it is possible. In the real-time development, we create a class and use it from another class. So means what? Separately we create a class and we use it from another class. It is better approach than previous one. So this is a better approach. So why it is better approach? Because we are not combining class and the main in the single block. We are dividing that into two blocks. One is our class block, other is a main block. So because of that, comparatively it is a better approach compared to the previous one. Now let us see the simple example here. Okay, so we'll also see one more example where we are having a main method in another class. So that is a more example we have here. We can have multiple classes in different Java files or single Java file also. So if I want to combine multiple classes, okay, into different Java files or single Java file, that is also allowed. If you define multiple class in the single Java source file, it is a good idea to save the file name to the class name, which has main method. So that is also we should notice. So next our example is, so we are again creating a class called student. So with two fields or two data members. So one is integer ID, there is a string name. As you can see, the class is completely, it is outside the main. Okay, so that is it's completely outside the main. Okay, nowhere we are combining both class and the main in a single block, so or in a single class. We are creating a student class separately. So then after that, so we're creating another class called test student 1. As you can see, the name of the class is called as a test student 1. So the student class is separate and the class test student 1 is separate. So in the test student 1, so what we are doing, so we are creating our main function. We are creating our main function with the help of the keywords called public, static, void, main. So when I say public, static, void, main, so these are the keywords which we are using. So inside of the Java, so public, static, void, main for creating a main function. So it is totally in a different class. Okay, so the class name is, okay, we defined the class name as test student 1. So then after that, so here also what we are doing, we are creating the object of the student class, so which is outside this main class. So the class name is called as student and the object name is called S1. Again we are creating the object name called S1 with the help of the new keyword. So then we print again S1.id and we print again S1.name. So again if I print S1.id and S1.name, again we get the values 0 and null. So why is 0 and null? So as I said, so no value initialized for this data members called id, no value initialized for the data member called name. So because of that, so whatever the default value so given by this Java compiler, so that is printed. So for id it is printing as 0, for string it is printing as null. So that is the default value. So the two methods, okay, so we studied. So one is either we can embed the main function inside the class called student, or we can separate the main function so outside the class called student. Okay, so student class is separate and the class which contains the main function, that will be separate. Okay, so the two approaches we studied. Next one, third way to initialize the 3 ways to initialize the object. What are the 3 different ways of initializing the object? So we have 3 different ways of initialization. So as we saw in the previous example, so I said, okay, no values are initialized because of the printing some default value, so that is 0 and a null. So let me initialize my object. Okay, so the first way of initialization is by reference variable. The second type of initialization is by methods. The third type of initialization is by constructors. So there are 3 different ways of initialization. Either we can use a reference variable, either by using a methods, either by using the constructor we can initialize. So the first is initialization through reference. So what is this initialization through reference? Initializing an object means storing a data into object. So as I said, initializing an object means, so it is storing a data into the object. So let us see a simple example where we are going to initialize the object to the reference variable. Okay, so this is a small example. So we're going to initialize to reference variable So as you can see, we have a class called student with two members, that is integer id and a string name, and we have one more class. So for main function, which is called as a test student 2 is there, so which contains the main function. So inside the main function, we have a student s1 object created with the help of the new operator, a new keyword. Then so straight away we are making use of this s1 object for initializing the value for the id. So that is s1 dot id. So we are initializing with the value called 101, and s1 dot name. So we are initializing some string. So after that, so if I want to print, so we have a standard printf statement, so called as system.out.println. So then we are printing the name, so which prints the id and the name, both we are printing. So that is id and the name we are printing. So after that, so if I check the output, so we are getting the output as 101. Then after that some string. So no is a string what we are printing. So we can also create multiple objects and store information in it through the reference variable. So in this example, what we are doing, we are creating only one object and we are trying to initialize the values. Okay, so is it possible to initialize values for the multiple object? Yes, it is possible. You can initialize the objects or multiple object also. So the second example, one more example is there. So we have a class called student. Then after that, so we have two objects created. So in the test student 3 class, so the student object number 1 is there, that is s1, and object number 2 is there, that is called s2 with the help of new keyword. Then we are initializing again, so with the value, so that is s1.id is equal to 101 and the name is equal to sono. Then s2.id is equal to 102 with the name called Amit. Then after that, we are using a standard printf statement, that is system.out.println, and we are printing the values. So this is the output what we are getting. This is the output what we are getting. The second type of initialization is initialize through methods. So is it possible to initialize the value for the object using a method? Yes, it is possible. Okay, so that is called as the second type of initialization through methods. In this example, we are creating the two objects of student class and initializing the value to this object by invoking the insert record method. So what we are doing, so as we call the method called insert record, so automatically the values are initialized to the two objects. So we are invoking a method called insert record and we try to initialize the value for the two objects. So we are displaying the state or data of the object by invoking the display information method. So two methods we are using. For initializing, we are using a method called insert record method, and for displaying, we are using a method called display information method. Okay, two functions. Two methods mean two functions. So here, so we are creating a class with fields like integer roll number, then after that a string name. So we are creating two fields. So just below that we have insert record method is there, so which takes two parameters, one is integer type, other is a string type. Then just we are making use of assignment operator and we are assigning roll number is equal to r, name is equal to n. So this initialization part is done. So for one object. So similarly, if I want to initialize for second object, the code remains the same. The insert record method code remains the same. Only thing is what are the parameter which is coming to the function or which is coming to the insert record method. So that is different. So again, so we can perform the initialization with the same method. So we have display information function or display information method is there. So which is a second method. So it is for displaying the information. It is for displaying the values which are there inside that object. So we use system.out.println and we print a roll number under name. Okay, so using the method called display information method. So we write a class called test student 4. So this is my class called test student 4. So which contains two objects, so which are created. So one is object number s1 with the help of new keyword, object number s2 okay, with the help of new keyword, and we are calling s1 dot insert record. So what it will do, So s1 dot, the object s1 initiates, okay, it invokes the method called insert dot record with the two values. So and s2 dot insert record, it calls the method called insert record with the two values. Okay, two objects, we are calling it two methods. So same method two times with the two different values. So insert record first time with s1, insert record second time with the s2. Similarly, we need to call the display information method once with the s1 and once with the s2 object. This is the output what we are getting. So after that, we have the third type of initialization, that is initialization through a constructor. So what is this constructor? So constructor is also one of the way of initializing. It is also a method, so which can be used for initializing the values. So using constructor also we can initialize the value. So that is the third method, third way of initialization. Object and class example. We have example here. So the example contains again the employee ID is there, then string name is there, then float salary is there. So here instead of two members, we have three members. One is ID, other is a name, other is a salary. Then after that, so there is a method called insert method is there. So which takes some three parameters. One is called as an integer, other is called as a string, one more is a float parameter. Okay, so three parameters we are passing to the insert function, and we are using this function insert method. So for initialization, ID is equal to I, name is equal to N, salary is equal to S. Similarly, we have a display method or a display function, so which is used for displaying the value. So how to call the method? So before you calling a method, so we need to start our class as which contains the main function. So inside this class, we are creating two more objects of employee type. One is called E1, other is called E2 with the help of new keyword. Then after that, so what we are doing? So we are creating one more object, that is E3 also. Then we are calling insert method three times. Insert E1 insert, then E2 dot insert, E3 dot insert, three times we are calling. Then comes the display methods. Okay, so we are calling three times. One is with the E1, other is with the E2, and other is with the E3. So this is how. So we're going to use the functions for initialization. Next is object and class example. One more example is there, so which contains an example of a rectangle. So there is a given another example that maintains the records of a rectangle class. So here the class name is called rectangle, so which contains length and width. Length and width are the two fields. So with the insert function is there, so which perform insertion operation. Length is equal to L, as you can see, and width is equal to W. Okay, and we have calculate area. One more method is there, so which is used for calculation of the area. So directly we are calculating length into width we are doing, and we are printing a result. And we have test rectangle. Test rectangle 1 is my class which contains a main function, and inside that main function, so we are creating an object called R1 with the help of a new keyword, and we are creating an object called R2 with the help of a new keyword, and we try to call the insert function with R1 and insert function with R2. Again, we are trying to call calculate area function with the R1 and calculate area function with the R2. So this is how we can insert the values. Okay, so just by calling two different methods. Okay, one is for insertion, other is for calculation or insertion and a display. So what are the different way to create an object? So this is the next topic. It is about different ways of creating an object in the Java. There are many ways to create an object in Java. So the first one is called as by using a new keyword. So then after that by using a new instance method is there. So the third one is called as by clone method. So the fourth one is called as a deserialization method. And the fifth one is called as a factory method. So like this, so many methods are there. Okay, so for creating a object inside the Java, but very popularly known methods are called as a new keyword, a new instance method, and by clone method we can create the objects. Then what is this anonymous object? Anonymous simply means nameless. An object which has no reference is known as anonymous object. It can be used at the time of object creation only. So at the time of object creation, so we can use this anonymous object. So if we have to use the object only once, an anonymous object is a good approach. For example, so new calculation is a small example so of anonymous object where so we are just using a keyword called new and we are using a calculation. Okay, so nowhere we are assigning so the reference okay of the object created to any of the new object. Okay, so and how to call this method to the reference. So we have one small example here, so where the calculation C is equal to new calculation, and if I want to call a method called fact method, so we can use a dot operator and we can easily call, okay, as we saw in the previous examples, C1 dot fact of 5, so 5 we are passing as a parameter. Okay, so this is how the method is called through anonymous object. So we have one more example, that is a new calculation dot fact where we are passing 5 as a parameter. Let us see some example of this anonymous object, okay, so which is created. So we have a class called calculation, the same class we are using, so then which contains fact as one of the method, so to find out the factorial of a number, and straight away we have a printf statement system.out.println to print the factorial. So in the main function, so nowhere we are assigning the reference. Okay, as you can see here, new calculation dot fact of 5, simply we are writing with the help of the new keyword. So we know new is the keyword, we know calculation is the name of the class, and straight away with the help of the class name, okay, we are calling the method called the fact of 5. Okay, the reference is not created, so the reference is not created, so the reference is not assigned to any of the variable names. Straight away with the help of the class name itself, we are trying to call the method which are there inside the class. Okay, so this is how so we can use the anonymous object. Creating a multiple object by one type only. Okay, so this is our next topic. We can create a multiple object by one type only, as we do in the case of primitives. So initialization of the primitive variable, so we can initialize, it is a normal variable initialization where so integer a is equal to 10 and we are assigning the b is equal to 20, so it is a normal variable initialization. Then after that, initialization of a reference variable. Is it possible to initialize reference variable? Yes, as we can see here, so rectangle R1 is there to which we are referencing a new rectangle. Then for R2 we are referencing okay new rectangle. So this is creating a two objects. So then we have a small example of this. So where we are creating a class called rectangle. So with the two fields, one is called as a length and other is called as the width field is there. Two fields are there. Then after that we have a insert method. So where length is equal to 1, width is equal to length is equal to L and width is equal to W, and we are trying to calculate the area by using a calculate area method. So and we are trying to print the value. So and we have a class which contains the main. So where so we are creating an object called R1 of the rectangle type, and also we are creating an object of R2 of rectangle type. So then so just there are two things are separated. Okay, so when you are trying to create a multiple object, so we need not to write again rectangle R2 is equal to new rectangle. Instead of that, so that can be separated with a comma operator, and we can write a comma R2 is equal to new rectangle, so that two objects are created. One is R1 and R2, and using insert function we input the value, and using calculate area we are going to calculate the area. So this is one more example. Next is a real world example. So there is one more example is there. So about accounts. As you can see, we have a class account is there. So which contains integer account number is one of the field, and the string name is one of the field, and float amount is one more field. Three fields are available. So which contains insert method for initializing, for inserting the value. So that is account number is equal to A, name is equal to N, and account amount is equal to amount. Then after that deposit is one more method. So what we are using, so which we want to find out. Okay, so that is by using a formula, amount is equal to amount plus AMT, then we are going to print deposit. Okay, so whatever the deposit we are calculating using a deposit method, so that is getting printed. Then after that, withdraw method is there. So as we are dealing with the account, so with the deposit we also need to have one more method called withdraw method. So withdraw method also we are writing here. So with some condition where amount is less than AMT, so then insufficient balance, else so withdraw can be done. Okay, so this is a more example. So and we have one more method called check balance. Okay, so I want to check the balance, so inside the account. So for that we have a method called the check balance method is there, where it's going to print the balance amount which is available, so inside the account. So we have one more method called display method is there. So that is going to display the account number, name and amount. 3 fields it's going to display. So and so to write the main, so inside the class, so we have created a class called a test account. Inside that we are creating a main function, and object is created of account type, that is A1. So then we call the insert method for insertion, the display method, check balance method, deposit, so many functions we are calling. So this is the output. These are few of the examples, so what we discussed today. So we started with what is class, what is object, then how to write a simple how to declare a simple class, so with the class keyword, then how to write a main function inside the single class, or how to write a main function outside the class, so that we can create two different classes, and how to create the object instance, so how to initialize the object instance. Okay, so many other topics we discussed. So thank you very much.